So I feel like I want to respond to this comment where, someone said, "What if some people are not destined to be awakened?" And then the commenter continued to say, "I quit. I'm confused. I'm tired. I don't know if I want awakening anymore." You see, that's the thing. That I that wants to awaken was never really in control. It's not the game of you and your life. It's just, we could say, it's consciousness playing this game. So the mind tells you have to continue, obviously, because I know how the situation feels like, because my mind was the same way. It thought that it has to attain this. But consciousness or grace or whatever you want to call it was somehow in some way speaking through this body-mind mechanism, and it said quit, give up. That was just the natural impulse. But the mind said, I don't want to give up, because if I'm giving up right now, because that's usually how this world, this mind matrix works. You have to put effort into things and then you'll get it. But this is different. Like, this is like, once it's understood that there's no separate self in the body, then it is clear that everything is being played out by the same force. Some people call that grace or karma, I think. I'm not sure. I like to call it the deeper intelligence. It's like, even right now, the deeper intelligence is talking. I never had to put in effort to lose the separate self, because it was never really here. It's always the conditioning talking. So the mind tells you, I want this awakening, because it imagines what awakening feels like. But the consciousness we're talking about is already awake, and the separate self was never really here. So something in your body-mind mechanism says, I want to quit. The mind obviously says that you shouldn't quit. But it will happen anyway, because it's very tiring. I remember when I was a TikTok junkie, there are many spiritual live streamers, and there was like an older guy, he was talking about, the spiritual awakening. And I was like, at this point in my journey, I was very resentful. So I wrote in the live chat, I don't want to wake up anymore. And he was like, why? It's like, why should you want, like, it's the best thing ever. And I was like, no, I'm putting in effort. I'm trying to silence my mind. I'm trying to wake up, I'm chasing the bliss. I'm chasing the realization, and I don't want to wake up anymore. And he was like, continue, But the deeper intelligence in me was forcing this body mind to just stop and give up and lay down and, don't do anything. I was just playing video games and do nothing. I was like, okay, it's over. It's over. But you see, it continued anyway. It was exactly what I had to go through. When I say I mean this body mind mechanism, obviously. So there is actually nothing you have to be scared of. If the body mind, or the mind, it says, I want to quit, I'm tired, I want to give up, I don't know if I'm ever going to be awake. That's exactly what's supposed to happen right now. And what you're actually trying to figure out is that, or what you're about to find out is that no one's going to wake up. It's because the only thing that happens is it's just a realization. Sometimes the mind is like, the mind hears about those stories where, when you're gonna wake up, you have this laughter, like this Buddha laughter when you're waking up, and it's all making sense, and the mind is looking for that sensation. It wants to have that experience, and when the mind thinks, if I don't have this experience, then I'm not awake. But it's never going to turn out the way the mind expects to. It's basically just the realization that whatever this body mind is doing is pure conditioning. There's no I that's responsible for whatever it is doing. You're like, usually when you're asleep, you say, I am the one that's talking. But the awakening is just the realization that talking is just, the body is conditioned to talk. it hears things, it internalizes them, and it's repeating them, and it's all just the play of consciousness. So the body mind mechanism is programmed in a way to act as if there is a separate I that is solid inside and it's doing the thing. But that's basically the awakening. But something is still there. There's still a presence, but that presence is always awake. It cannot wake up. It is not interested in waking up. It is not interested in waking up because it is so awake that it doesn't even, it's just, and it doesn't change much about this relative human me. There's like this silence, and you can meditate and you can abide in that silence, and that, it's just pure consciousness, and it's okay. And then you understand that nothing's really personal. It's all the play of consciousness anyway. So normally when you're identified with an I, like me, it's me and my life and my story, that's still all gonna play out. All the conditionings, but there's no me that has it. And then normally when you're identified with an I, it's me and my life, and there is this fear that when someone's insulting you, that's personal, that's personal. So he's insulting me or she's insulting me. It's, a real conflict. But when you realize that there is like this I was never there, then you're like, you see it from a different perspective, like Neo in the Matrix. It's like, there's no one here actually. It's just like one wave is clashing into the other wave. And so the one body mind mechanism is just programmed, and programmed sounds like computer stuff. It's not. It's more biological. It's really this aliveness. But it's still programming or conditioning. We could say this conditioning. The whole body is the conditioning, and it's only the aliveness in it. No separate person in it, but purely the aliveness or the consciousness that is living in this, or as this, clashing into itself in the form of another conditioned body. So it's nothing really personal. This expression right here is an expression of pure consciousness, we could say, but it doesn't mean that it is always shining in bright light. So when you are awake, this pain can continue. The personal story can continue in the mind, because all the conditioning of the body mind, the trauma, that's going to continue. It's just understood by the body mind itself that it does not belong to someone. It's all the play of consciousness. So the mind is not gonna be silent all the time. It's not gonna be, life is not gonna be perfect. When you realize that there's this absolute, then the relative will still be relative. The absolute won't exclude the relative. So the relative life will continue, and the mind will still, not for everyone, it's obviously in this relative game. There are individuals, and every individual has its own story to tell and go through and experience, and it depends on what story the individual you are is going through. But usually the mind will continue to at least try to find this bliss or realization, or now everything makes sense. Like the mind wants to wake up. What you really are, the pure consciousness, doesn't care about waking up, because it's already pure wakeness. The mind is trying to find bliss, and it's attainable through meditation, but you cannot will it into the now. Like if it's not here right now, you cannot force it to come. Like in meditation, it's not about using a technique. At least that's how I approach meditation. I'm not using a technique to get bliss. Whatever's here, if it's a good feeling, a negative feeling, if it feels like personal, if the mind is trying to tell a personal story, that's just accepted naturally. And that's already meditation. There's just this clear understanding, that what I truly am is at home. It is not touched by what's happening. Therefore, things are allowed to happen. So the conditioning is allowed to be as it is. And so when there's this, in your situation, you say, I quit, I'm confused, I'm tired. That's perfect. Already. That's the deeper intelligence doing its work. The mind says, no, it's not good. It wants to, it says that it's not good. It wants to, usually, it tries to find a method to change that, you know, because it's trying to be a doctor. But that's also consciousness, you know, playing with itself. It's a crazy game. But quitting, being confused, being tired, not being sure if you want awakening anymore is perfect. It's basically, there's like this inner intuition always for most people. I know not everyone, but most people have this inner voice that's not really telling you things, but it's always here, and it's telling you just trust. You know, at least that's what I experience, and I know some people who also they have this. It's like this inner I don't know what's gonna happen, but somehow there's this voice or this inner certainty, like it's gonna, even though they're suffering and pain, it's okay. Like it's, you know. So this video is very focused on, you know, the relative aspect of life, which is also important, because your mind says, I want to quit. That's something that happens. Like the absolute is relative. And, you know, I'm sure I was like that. I wanted to solve all the problems, all the personal problems, and I wanted to attain the absolute. Because I thought, if I'm the absolute, then I don't have problems anymore, because then I'm not here anymore. Now I'm not here anymore, I know I never was, but the conditioning is still there, and it's all there ever was. Now the conditioning is never perfect. Like the absolute is perfect because the imperfect is accepted. And the acceptance of the imperfect is already perfection. So, and that's also what the non-dualists say, like it's not for you. It's not for you. Once you get it, that there's no one, then things will continue the same way. You will still carry the water. But what I want to tell you, or if I were you, or if I'm me from the past and I was confused like you are right now, and I would like to have my advice from now, from the future now, I would just say, just trust. Like it's not that big of a deal. If you feel negativity, if you feel like you want to quit, just know that it's okay. It's not you doing it. It's the deeper intelligence. It's the consciousness playing this whole game. So even if there's worry, don't worry about that worry. You know, even if there's doubt and fear and I'm not sure and I want to give up and I'm quitting, that's already perfect. That's part of this whole game. Like nobody knows if there's a goal, if there's an end to it. That's why I don't even like to call it a spiritual journey, because a journey implies that there's a final destination, and I don't know if there's such a thing called final destination in this journey, so I don't even like to call it a journey. It's just this. But there's always this inner certainty that your true self is already at home, so you don't have to worry about that. And whatever you're supposed to do, the individual will do what it's supposed to do, because the individual is not played by an I that is controlling it. It was always consciousness doing it already now. Yeah. Okay.